Jazz, the high schools. If it's the sport you care about, we're talking about it. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome back for the week. Hope your July 4th was safe and happy and you're well.
A lot of explosions in the sky. I don't know if I've ever seen so many fireworks. Holy cow.
But you know what? I think there's we can't have a fireworks show, then we're going to make our own fireworks show. I can't tell you how many illegal fireworks I saw in the air, too. But it's great. It was fun. I didn't have to move anywhere. I could just look out my window. Oh, look, there's a bunch of fireworks.
I did not buy a single firework this year, and we thought, should we do our own thing? I don't regret it one bit.
Yeah.
So many other people were doing shows. We got to sit back and enjoy it.
Hey, speaking of sitting back and enjoy it, what a huge ovation to you and the Cache Valley Media Group for putting together a spectacular radio broadcast so that Providence, Richmond, North Logan, and Hiram could all have their fireworks shows to be watched and enjoyed for. I know that several of our family members were trying to find an app to be able to turn it on to, and we had people down the street blasting their radio to 610 AM KVNU or to, one of the 5 stations that had it. It was cool too because no matter where you were walking, you heard a car with a Cache Valley radio station on it with the getting ready to listen to the broadcast, and someone would scream out, "Hey, how long do we got?" They turn up you hear the voice of 5 minutes until the show begins, and what a huge ovation to you guys and your great work in putting that together.
Now, we had some great staff here working with that, and coordinating with the other people that put that together. With the communities and those who did all the fundraising for it. For the July 3rd show, that was cool. But then we had staff here do our own thing on Saturday, on the 4th at 10 o'clock. So as people were lighting off their own things, people were turning on their radios again. So it was really cool how that all came together, and appreciate all the good hard work that everybody put in to make that happen.
Yep. So again, we hope you enjoyed your July 4th and your holiday weekend. We welcome you back to normal and real life. And boy, it has, speaking of fireworks, we got a lot of fireworks going on in sports. You go from NBA to Major League Baseball to college football. It is all going down, from players dropping out to the seasons to football on the verge of, we don't know if it's going to exist this season. And if not, then what do you do? Eric, there's just so many questions in college football and not many answers right now, with still about just a little over a month to play.
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty still as more teams are getting together and more teams are doing testing. More players are testing positive. But what's interesting, when we talked about this, we wanted to monitor, how successful would they be at isolating the individual while still allowing the rest of the team to do things? But we're seeing that a lot more than just the individuals getting isolated. And so there's still some real concern about, will things happen in the fall like are normally scheduled? NCAA said you can start getting together, and here's your plan for camp, when you can report and when you can do things together as a team, and with a schedule moving forward to your regular start dates. But, man, the Ivy League is looking at starting in the spring. There's some talk about teams delaying their start until October. So, Ajay, still, we're getting closer and closer, and there seems to be more and more uncertainty about what's going to actually happen this fall.
Paul Feinbaum of SEC Network actually had some comments today, and we know, look, not a lot of us are fans of Paul Feinbaum because he's so biased. Incredibly disgustingly biased toward the SEC Network, but yet he's on ESPN acting as a college football analyst, which is a mistake in itself. But anyways, he goes on to talk about some of those obstacles. One of the ideas, as you already mentioned, Eric, is that maybe football could be moved to spring. Now, we're going to break this down, I guess, problem to theory to solution. So let's start with the problem, and that's that football is not going on. And so what's the solution is that it may move to maybe a spring. Come on. I just pushed play. For the love. This isn't going to work, is it?
It is still a last resort, but that last resort may be the next resort pretty soon because of the current status of the country. College football administrators have spent all spring looking at contingencies, how to open up, how to get to Labor Day weekend. And now they are extremely nervous about what they're seeing, what we're all seeing around the country. So quietly, they are whispering the spring football concept. They don't want to do it. There are so many problems. Primarily, the best players will not play or will likely not play. And besides, in some parts of the country, it is bitter cold. But in a couple of weeks, this could become a very big conversation.
So here's the other part to it. If you change season to spring, the obstacles, and there are quite a few of them.
Well, probably a shortened season because there's no way you could get 12 games, and you'd have to start in January, and I don't think that's doable in very many parts of the country, even in parts of the South. So you would probably play a 10-game season, maybe all conference season. So those are some of the things that you're looking at. You just have to go ahead and say Trevor Lawrence, Justin Field, and company will not be around because the NFL overtures have been made, and the NFL is saying we're not changing the draft. We don't really care. Thank you very much.
See, he brings up a really good point. If you start in the spring, what NFL draftees are going to say, yeah, no thank you. I don't want to risk my health to go play a college football season when I'm going to the NFL and I know I'm going to be a top 15, a top 20, a first-round pick.
Yeah, I think that really only affects a handful of players. I think everybody else is still going to go out there and play because, A, it's their opportunity to finish a senior season if they are a senior or a highly touted junior to still do a season. But B, not just to finish what you started, but to try to improve your opportunity. Because it's probably not really known or even guaranteed if you're going to be able to get drafted. And so there's still opportunity to get out there and play and get some tape on you and get some buzz about your play and what you can do, how you can help a team.
A major impact to starting the spring season on a positive note would be this. Gotta be kidding me. This thing will not play for me today. Forget it. It's actually talking about how we could have fans. That in the spring, now we don't know what COVID-19 is going to do in April of next year. We have no idea if it's going to be there or not. But if it's not, then you actually have a chance to be able to have fans in the stands to be able to watch the games. Which is, according to a lot of Power 5 ADs that what I've been seeing around, it's a big deal to have those fans in the stands for big games.
Yeah, the lack of fans is really big, because that's such a big part of the operating budget. All right, because people give donations that are tied. Well, when they buy their season tickets, they have to make a donation also for scholarships. And if there's not going to be fans in the stands, do you pull out not just your season ticket purchase, but also your scholarship donation? That really hurts. Any of the, as we've talked about with NBA and Major League Baseball, not just ticket sales, but all the other like advertising gimmicks that happen in the middle of a game, signage, banners. What happens at the timeout? What happens in the quarter break? Those are all sponsored events. Those would all go away or have to be dramatically changed. So it's a big financial hit to these organizations. So they desperately want to have some form of fans in the stands. Because if not, man, you're going to start seeing sports cut. You're going to see salaries cut. It's going to be, we're already starting to see that. And I think it's just going to be exacerbated. If college football cannot happen, it's going to affect the entire athletic department. Every student in the athletics is going to be affected if college football doesn't happen.
Now, of course, as you heard in the top of the hour minute news update, Ivy League is going to be making a decision on July 8th about what they want to do officially with their football season. And it really is an important one for the rest of the college football country. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that too here. Of why the Ivy League football is going to be so important.
The presidents of universities, they pay attention to what Ivy League presidents are going to do. Some of them want to be Ivy League presidents one day, and I think they'll take a very close look. And most people believe the Ivy League is not going to play this fall, so it will send a message. Here's the Ivy League. Remember one thing, the Ivy League was the first basketball, first league to decide we're not playing the conference basketball event a couple of months ago. When they decided on that Tuesday, we all laughed. By Thursday, everything was gone, including the NCAA tournament.
Thoughts? Agreed? Is the Ivy League have that much impact to say?
Well, yeah, I don't know if they have that much impact and that much sway. I don't think that college football is going to be paying that much attention to what the Ivy League does. I think that's a little, I don't know the right term. Anyway, it just seems a little bit much that college football presidents of significant college football programs would look that closely to what the Ivy League is going to do.
See, and that's what doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I think basketball is a little different, but to say that, oh, I want to be an Ivy League president, so I'm going to do whatever the Ivy League does, come on. That's silly. I mean, I don't doubt there's a lot of school presidents who would not, be disappointed if they could get that opportunity and be a president of that kind of an institution. But if it means you get to be a president at a very large, significant, influential university that's not Ivy League, then probably still take that opportunity. I just think that college football, with the powers that be and all the money that's tied to it, they're going to try to do the best that they can to do things as they've normally done. To do a shift to the spring is a huge risk. I think that's really low on the contingency plans that these Power 5 or even some of the bigger Group of 5 schools may be looking at is playing football in the spring. I think that limiting the number of fans in the stands or limiting interaction with the players, maybe even a delay, I think those are more likely than delaying until the spring. I think that's like a last-ditch effort. And it kind of surprises me that the Ivy League has pushed that up to the forefront of their proposal, of their plan.
Again, their decision will come officially on July 8th. A lot of them, and many reports are saying that they have, or at least are leaning very strongly to having spring football this upcoming 2021 football season. Just crazy to even think that's even a possible option at this time. Some very disturbing news on the Utah State football front that came down yesterday, Eric.
Talking about fireworks. These are the unintentional kind.
These are the illegal fireworks that shouldn't be going off.
Blow up in your face.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
People get injured, and it's bad news. I don't know. I haven't seen the full dialogue. I've not seen the full conversation, but I've seen enough. Somebody got into it with Ty Shaw. Somebody posting on Snapchat about they didn't like the 4th of July because black people were still slaves on July 4th, 1776, which, okay, take your own political opinion on what you think about that. But Ty Shaw took to his social media to voice his opinion about that and said some things that really are not great. I'm not going to read the whole thing because the FCC would get us in trouble.
Yeah, we would no longer have jobs, I'll tell you that.
But I will. There are some portions of what he said that we can share. He says, first, he doesn't care to educate himself, basically, on some of these issues and some of these concerns that have been voiced about why some people don't apparently like the 4th of July. And I get it. On one hand, he's trying to stand up for why he thinks it's a good holiday. But then when it gets to some of these other issues that are out there, he says, I don't care to educate myself. And then he adds, and I will quote this, y'all have months dedicated to your oppressed blink and still so greedy to have more purely because history didn't treat your ancestors right. Not a great comment. And then later on says, y'all don't want racism to go away. It gives you power and reason to, I'll paraphrase, to complain. So not good things from Ty Shaw. And if you don't know who Ty Shaw is, he's an offensive lineman for Utah State.
Yep, played a majority of snaps last year. Played a lot last year, actually, for the offensive line.
Got in some games as a redshirt freshman. Played a lot more as a sophomore this last year. 6'4", 285 pounds. He was going to be part of an offensive line that was coming back, by and large, a good majority of them coming back with good experience. Well, he's now been suspended. We don't know what his future is going to look like for Utah State.
Utah State Athletics has released a statement. They did so last night, immediately, actually, pretty quick after everything kind of started coming about. It comes from Mr. John Hartwell, who's the Vice President and Athletics Director of Utah State, and, of course, head football coach Gary Anderson. Quote,
yeah, it's a joint statement.
Yep, we have been made aware of inappropriate racial comments made by a current student-athlete on our football team. This will not be tolerated, and we have suspended the individual immediately. And pending an investigation, will take appropriate action, end quote. I'm going to look at the silver lining of this and give credit where credit's due to Mr. Hartwell and Coach Anderson for absolutely and swiftly taking action. You didn't see that statement come out today, this morning, this late afternoon. This came out last evening.
Right. It wasn't
quick on it.
We've been made aware, we're going to investigate, and then we'll let you know.
Now, according to Tony Jones of The Athletic, he said that the Coach Anderson was going to meet with the leadership staff to discuss the incident and further investigate into the situation itself. So, again, from what we've seen, Ty Shaw has been suspended from the Utah State football team and from the activities of the football team as well. And an investigation will continue from Utah State, including Mr. Hartwell, Coach Anderson and such, and the leadership team to figure out what the appropriate action will need to be taken place. But again, credit to those two and to Utah State for immediately, not hesitating, but immediately taking action on the situation.
Apparently, other Utah State football players, like teammates of Ty Shaw, speaking up.
Did you see these
And
tweets?
they're not great.
Yeah.
They're not great comments for Ty Shaw.
I saw Troy Lefetch Jr.'s tweet. Did you see? I heard something from Devin Anderson.
Right. Devon Anderson says, honestly, doesn't surprise me what's happening at Utah State right now. Troy Lefetch Jr. says, ain't no surprise to me at all. Aaron Wade, what's going on here? Somebody please handle this. # disappointed. Even DJ Nelson kind of weighed in on it. Former player saying, this disappointing, not surprised. And then another person, this Maisie Thompson, she's kind of thrown out an allegation with all this going on, saying that kind of accusing Mike Bear of some inappropriate comments that were directed towards Devon Anderson.
Yeah.
Using a racially insensitive word. Again, that's an accusation.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know the legitimacy of that, so I'm not even going to try to comment on that one.
Don't know about it, although Devon Anderson didn't dispute it, and he retweeted it. He shared it himself. So it's not a time to be, well, it's never a time to talk like that.
No.
But even, certainly not now.
And the thing that Ty Shaw needs to learn is that, like, what did you think was going to happen with the conversation, man? Like, if it's over Snapchat or whatever the heck that is, or Twitter or Insta, whatever, it's going to get posted if you say something stupid. If you are that arrogant and that naive and with that kind of a tantrum, to post something like that or to message somebody with such language and not think that it's going to come back to bite you in 2020, you should have never had social media in the first place. Ever. That's just unreal that you can make those kind of comments and think that you're going to be okay. That you were okay with saying those things is even worse, actually. So I applaud head coach Gary Anderson and John Hartwell in Utah State for handling that situation the way they did, as swiftly as they did. We don't have a final, I guess, answer to the investigation. I'm sure it's going to be a bit, but when they do, we will let you know.
Well, the bottom line here is that what was said is disappointing and shocking, but also how many other current
Players,
teammates are like, "Yep, this doesn't surprise me." They're not surprised to hear this. So, disappointing.
Yeah, it's 2020. 2020 needs to just go away, man. I'm so sick of it. I just can't. It just can't get out of its own dang way. I don't know how else to put it. Hey, really quickly, I know this is kind of old news, but I wanted to. This is really bad to flip back on from what the conversation we just had. But did you even see the spring football option? I know you commented a little bit on it, but even Lincoln Riley said it's very doable, and that guy coaches Oklahoma University, University of Oklahoma. That's don't want to make Sooner fans unhappy. University of Oklahoma, and he said spring football is very doable. Do you? I mean, I just feel like there's so many obstacles in the way that I just don't know when you would start and when you would end, because you got graduation, you got finals, and all that. You're at the end of the school year. It's impossible.
Well, it's not impossible, but it's weird. It's unusual, but it's definitely an unusual time. I mean, if it was the option of not having a full year of college football or playing it in the spring, if that was your only option, then everybody would say, okay, we'll do it in the spring. Yeah. What does that mean? Do you start practices in January? You start playing games in February?
Yeah. And then bowl games would bowl games be in April if they started in January? And then I think the question you brought up, a really good point that we had discussed one time by you, is how do you handle that with basketball? Because basketball's like right in the midst of it, and you can't just like push back basketball to March and have them end in May. So there's another issue you have too. I mean, there's problems all over the board. And like I said at the first of the show, a lot of questions with very few answers. And by the way, 14 OU Sooner players did test positive as workouts began. Kansas has hauled their workouts over increased virus cases. You saw the same thing, I guess. Clemson had a lot of positive tests. Texas A&M, Houston's was more irresponsible than anything, to be honest with you. But just a lot of problems and a lot of obstacles still in the way, and we are on July 6th. Camp is, I think we said best case scenario, camp should start when? Next week? So that would give you, what, 8 weeks? 6 weeks?
Yeah, I think it's
1, 2,
8.
3, 4. You're right. 5, 6, 7, 8 to get you into opening week for a date with Washington State. Then that's just if you start next week. But the way this thing is going and how fluid it is, and you said it before, every week something new comes up. Every week something new jumps into the fryer to kind of escalate the situation of when can we have football? Are we going to have football? Can there be fans? Won't there be fans? I think if you have football, you can't have fans, period, if you're crazy to do it.
Look at this. I mean, University of Hawaii, this happened today.
Okay.
Earlier today. University of Hawaii saying that they had a game scheduled on September 12th, a home game against Fordham. And the game has been canceled.
Really?
Patriot League is restricting travel. So they're not going to send their team to Hawaii. So University of Hawaii is like, do we try to find a replacement game? What do we do? Do we just move it to another year for that matchup? But what do we do this year?
Yeah, like I said, there's a ton of questions to be answered. So they've canceled the game for next year or this year? I'm sorry.
This fall.
This fall.
In fact, Rainbow Warriors, they actually opened up mandatory strength and conditioning workouts on campus today. And they'll open their full training camp on July 31st if everything goes as planned. They're scheduled to play at Arizona on August 28th. But they've got one game already canceled.
So they got to make that up then. Some way, somehow, right?
Well, that's the question. I mean, can you, at this late date, find a replacement game for September 12th? I mean, everybody's got schedules locked in. Unless you can find somebody by some Hail Mary chance that somebody had a bye week and they'd be willing to travel to Hawaii.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know how many people are going to be willing to do that and spend the bucks on it or even risk it.
Right.
To go across the islands.
Why? I mean, the cost to go play at Hawaii is significant.
Yeah. And if it's a late night
game. And the way
game,
it messes up your following week.
Yeah.
Because you travel back in the time. So they're in a bad spot.
Wow. Hey, did you hear about Patrick Mahomes? He had a pretty bad day today, it looks like.
Oh, my gosh.
Patrick Mahomes signs a 10-year extension. It's worth up to $503 million. Now, he's already signed in for 2 more years. So this is a 12-year deal, practically, with the Kansas City Chiefs. That's $477 million in guaranteed money. And there is outs for the mechanism, if you will, if things aren't exercised on the Kansas City Chiefs portion. $503 million for 10 years. Oh, yeah, and then by the way, it's guaranteed injury money, too. So if he gets injured, he still gets $178 million in injury money. Talk about an insurance policy.
And no ties to a percentage of the salary cap.
Good heck. As you heard probably at the top of the hour, he now becomes the highest professional athlete in North America, professional sports. Highest paid athlete.
How soon do you think it'll be before we see somebody sign a $1 billion deal?
Baseball? I'd say soon. I mean, just the way things are, man.
You think baseball will be the first to offer a $1 billion deal? I mean, they have a tendency to sign longer-term contracts, and so its value would be...
See, that's what's nuts, man.
But Mahomes just did a 10-year. That's unheard of in the NFL.
$500 million.
Yeah, we're halfway there now.
$500 million. And, dude, and you know what's crazy? Is that Tom Brady was just asking for, I don't know, $150 million. And Bill Belichick was like, nah. And then what? Patrick Mahomes goes in there and the agent goes in there and says, hey, how about we keep him here forever and you give him $500 million? Sounds great. Let's go have a cheeseburger on me. Andy Reid. That's nuts, man. $500 million freaking dollars.
It's insane.
Baseball players have got to be just livid right now. They've got to be just absolutely miffed. Speaking of baseball players, coming up here after the break, MLB is still having some issues, and more notable names are dropping out of Major League Baseball.
Well, and whole teams are having issues with their facilities as well.
Yep, exactly.
So how do you do training camp if you can't even play in your field?
NBA also shutting down some camps in their own facilities, and then having some players who are questioning if they want to go out and play. Some have actually announced that they won't. That and more coming up here on the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, I'm Ajay Salvesen, 106 on FM, 1390 AM, and 106.9, thefan.com.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Ajay Salvesen.
Eric, we just heard from Donovan Mitchell. What stood out to you about his comments on Rudy Gobert's relationship with him?
He hasn't come out publicly to say really much, to clarify anything. Feels like there was a lot of misinformation, and you don't want to go responding to every little thing that was out there. But Donovan, if you say one thing, that's going to clear up a lot of stuff. You don't have to go around chasing every little post to clarify everything. I was a little surprised that he didn't do anything more than to address the relationship.
Starting at 4 p.m. on 106 on FM, 1390 AM, and 106andthefan.com.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
If you want to listen to any of our past shows, miss any full-time or full interviews, you can jump onto our podcast platform, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify. Just type in the Full Court Press, Eric, say my name, or you can go on 106andthefan.com and find everything that you need to there to catch up with whatever you've been missing so far during this really bizarre time of COVID-19. We look forward to July 30th when we hopefully see and feel some sort of normalcy as the Utah Jazz will get ready to play the New Orleans Pelicans at 4:30. That game will be broadcast on this very station. starring David Locke. And then on July 31st, we'll have our Season 3 premiere of the Full Court Press. A 2-hour show will be back to 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. When we got plenty of great interviews and we got plenty of great content, as sports will be back and football will be hopefully getting ready to get themselves steadied for the 2020 football season. Baseball's a different situation right now, and it's becoming a bigger issue because, Eric, more and more players, not just more and more notable names dropping out, but then some players are being tested positive, and then also practice facilities in baseball are shutting its doors.
Yeah, so the latest Major League Baseball player to opt out of the season is Nick Markakis for the Atlanta Braves.
That sucks for me.
Already he's got a teammate, Freddie Freeman, who has tested positive. And so Markakis had a phone call with his teammate. How you doing, buddy? Basically, and his response is, man, just hearing him, the way he sounded on the phone,
was not
it was
good.
tough.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm out. Pitcher Felix Hernandez, I'm out. So the list of Major League Baseball players opting not to play is growing, and they're becoming more and more significant names. David Price, pitcher for the Dodgers. Ryan Zimmerman, infielder for the Nationals, pretty significant name. Rockies outfielder Ian Desmond.
And by the way, Mike Trout is on the fence. He is not confirmed that he's going to play this season. He is sitting on the fence about this.
Here are his comments. He says, "Why are we doing this?" He says, "It's a tough situation for everybody." This is Mike Trout. "I talked to a lot of guys across the league, and they're texting me a lot. I'm not going to name any names, but they're all thinking the same thing. Is this going to work?"
Actually, before we get there, let's start with this. Here's Nick Markakis on the reasoning behind his decision to sit out this season. Hopefully. We've had so many issues. Dude, this thing is not playing for me today. Come on, Nick. Come on, Markakis. Gotta be fetching joking me. I hate this thing today. It's just not playing.
You need me to come over there and take care of things?
We just need to burn down these computers.
It's been a bad weekend.
I love the game.
Oh, look. Hi, Nick.
I love competing every day. But the biggest thing, my decision is, we play this game for the fans, and, to be able to go out there on a daily basis and compete and entertain for them, that's what it's all about. And to have to go out there and not have them part of that, and it's tough. And I think that was kind of my ultimate decision.
It's obvious that you can tell how concerned he is about it. There's no I'm going to just kick it at home. It's going to be a nice little vacation. No, he's actually quite scared.
And he's on the tail end of his career, too.
Yeah.
I mean, this could be career-ending, a career-ending decision. Guy's, 36 years old?
Yep.
And so next season is in doubt for him to play anyway. So this is not a decision you can come to lightly. I mean, he can still produce. He can still play. And it's not like he's just on the real back end of his career just hanging on to a roster spot. But let's not all be doom and gloom on this. I mean, Clayton Kershaw, he's got 3 young kids. He's backing the league. He says he's supportive of the players' union. He's going to trust that they know that they have a plan. Justin Turner says, quote, "Playing has probably been one of the easier decisions," close quote. So there are some notable people that are backing out and are voicing concerns, but there are also some pretty notable people saying, "Hey, I think we can do this okay." But here's the thing, Ajay, no matter what Clayton Kershaw or Mike Trout may think or believe, if you don't have a facility to practice in or prepare in, that's going to make it really hard to even have a season. The Nationals, the Astros, the Cardinals, they have all canceled team workouts that were scheduled today because they haven't got the results back from COVID-19 testing. They did a bunch of tests last week. They were supposed to have a quick turnaround time, but they were supposed to arrive, and 86 of the nearly 3,800 tests have not yet been reported yet. And so they're like, look, we can't continue until we know the results of those tests.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. In fact, Buster only talks about how, this isn't the end of players opting out, that there could be, and there probably will be more, just for the fact that you see all these tests going
There's
out,
so much
and some players being
uncertainty.
tested positive.
And we heard that from Mike Trout on Friday. We heard it from Buster Posey yesterday. And the fact that so many respected veterans now have decided to step away, I think will give players a clear opportunity to assess their own situation as to whether or not they're going to continue.
That's the thing, and I think you just said this too, that these aren't just no-namers dropping out. These are respected veterans, not just on their team, but around the league. Ryan Zimmerman is a very respected veteran around the league. Freddie Freeman, who now becoming more on the veteran side, is very respected around the league. Ian Desmond, same thing. And if these guys are saying, you know what, I'm out, this isn't worth it, then it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't be. And if Mike Trout steps down and says, you know what, I'm not playing, boy, that's going to really turn a lot of heads for a lot of these young kids.
Well, but it's also some of these people that are backing away. These are also guys that have done well for themselves. They have money in the bank. They've been doing it for a while. So you have a lot of younger players that are trying to make their mark, trying to get to that point where they can sign those big extensions. If they don't play, there's a real concern that that's going to affect the rest of their career. So I know there's this sense like I don't have a choice. I have to play. I can't not play. I have to be able to fill a roster spot. It was so hard for me to get to where I am. I have to be able to compete to get that long-term contract or just get the next contract. I don't know. I just think that there's going to be a lot of guys that are thinking that's great for Mike Trout. It's great for David Price. Some of these guys they've all signed big deals. They've collected enough paychecks over their lifetime in Major League Baseball. They can say, I just want to opt this one out. But for some of the younger guys or guys that are trying to still fight for roster positions, it's not that much of a choice for them.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. And then the scary part is I think when we were talking to John Balgini, he said he wasn't confident that they could even get through the season. Now there's just too much at risk, and there's too many holes in it that he doesn't see a 60 game season being completed for baseball. The question, I think, Eric, is what's the over under of how far they get? Where do you set it?
Sorry, say it one more time.
What's the over under for a baseball season that they actually get through it? I mean, do they get through 45 and a half? Do you say 45 and a half games? And you say over under?
I would probably take the under. I'm still skeptical.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you remember even John Balgini, like when we asked him, he didn't even hesitate.
I think the biggest reason I'm really skeptical is because Major League Baseball is saying you're going to play games in your arenas. You're going to travel across the country. We're not going to try to isolate teams or people. All it takes is one person to bring it in and infect others and create some real problems. So that's why I'm more skeptical about Major League Baseball than any other sport. The NHL, they're going to isolated locations. They can control things a little bit better. The NBA, same thing. NFL, I have some skepticism about that too because they're traveling everywhere. It's harder to do an isolated NFL season in a couple of locations, but it could be done. You can play multiple games on the same field. That field's going to get tore up real quick, but if it's turf.
Hey, speaking of NHL, they've come out with a couple of things. First of all, the NHL says it's had 35 total players test positive for COVID-19. 23 of the 396 who have reported to team facilities for Phase 2 activities, and 12 additional players outside of the Phase 2 protocol. With that, there is a good stretch of good news for the NHL. That they have reached a tentative agreement on a return-to-play plan and a memorandum of understanding that adds an additional 4 years to the term of the current collective bargaining agreement. That includes transition rules and a new critical dates calendar. As part of the tentative agreement, according to the NHL and NHLPA, clubs travel to hub cities August 1st. July 13th will start formal training camps. July 26th is when the clubs travel to hub cities, and August 1st is the start of qualifying round. The tentative agreement is now subject to approval by NHL's Board of Governors, which, by the way, has been started to be reported that's all but guaranteed to be done, as well as NHLPA's Executive Board, followed by the NHLPA membership, all which are guaranteed to be saying yes, according to several reports. Now, the respective review and approval process will take place over the next few days, and there will be no further comment until those processes are completed, end quote. So how about that, man? How about the NHL just stepping up and taking care of biz?
You know what? For all the attention that the NBA and Major League Baseball have gotten, the NHL has just quietly gone about their business.
Yep, I would say so. That's a great way to put it.
We're going to not play this out in the media. We're going to take care of business. We're going to communicate with our people. And we're going to develop a plan that we think is going to work. And, you know, they were kind of criticized for not naming where they were going to be until the last hour. But turns out that was probably the better thing to do because there's uncertainty about where you can go based on what the rates are or how things are going up or how things are trending. So the NHL's played it right. Good for them. Yeah,
no kidding. It's really smart on their end. Like you said, just keep it under, just keep it hush. Look, we'll just do this agreement between you and I. When we finish it, we'll announce something. So not only do they get a CBA agreement under all this, but then they actually get an announcement of dates of when they will be playing. Was it that hard? Baseball? Is it that difficult to get it done? That's just what's amazing to me. All right, we're going to take a break. Coming back, Utah Jazz have their preseason, quote-unquote, scrimmages set and ready to go. Eric has that schedule of what those games will look like. He'll announce those times and those opponents, and we'll talk some NBA basketball as we close it up here on a Monday show of the Full Court Press, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Eric Frandsen and Ajay Salvesen on the Full Court Press, 106 on FM, 1390 AM, and 106onthefan.com. Hope you're enjoying your day. Back from the holiday weekend. If you are finishing it up today, please be safe however you may be joining us. We're grateful that you are doing so.
Were you one of the ones that got in on the Hamilton craze over the weekend?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Dude, I was at Bear Lake and I came home and I slept for hours. I don't even remember what happened over the weekend.
Got into that. I admit, we watched it. There were a lot of pauses along the way to explain what was going on.
So wait.
What really happened in history?
So what is this Hamilton thing?
That's a musical.
So is it like in a play? So
yeah, based on the life of Alexander Hamilton, one of the founding fathers.
Okay, so
but it's all like rap and hip hop. It's not your traditional musical.
Is it on TV or something?
It was Disney Plus got the rights to share it on their streaming platform. So
I have no desire to watch it.
I'll be honest, when it first started, I'm like, I have no idea about Hamilton. I know that there are people saying, oh, this is this big thing and they love it and spending all this money to travel to go see it. I just never really looked into it. But we're like, okay, I guess it's a thing. We're hearing all these people talk about it. It's available. We have the Disney Plus. Let's turn it on. And at first I'm like, whoa, okay, this is interesting. And then it just keeps going. It keeps going with this rap and hip hop style, and it took me a minute to try to get caught up to speed. But then I'm like, this is kind of cool actually, and watched the whole thing. It was good. I'll admit, it was good. I liked it.
Huh.
My kids were like, were those people black? Because there's almost all black actors that portray them. I said, no, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't bother me. Those are just actors portraying people in history. They're very talented. So it was fun. We did that. I'm seeing it all over social media today, all the people that did the Hamilton thing over the weekend. Just wondered if you were one of them.
I honestly had no idea what the crap you were talking about or what people were talking about today. Yeah, no desire, man. Honestly, no desire at all. Eric, NBA is trying to get their feet underneath the ground as they get ready to head to Orlando this week. Teams will start traveling 7th, 8th, and 9th. The Jazz travel the 7th. Before the games start on July 30th, there is some exhibition scrimmages, if you will, that the Jazz will take part in.
Yeah, so the NBA did announce as part of this plan for the restart that it's only 8 regular games that are scheduled, and then you're right into the playoffs. And a lot of teams were concerned about all this big layoff and guys getting back into game shape, understanding the plays again, remembering how to play with each other. And so they said, okay, look, we can have a series of scrimmages, and you can scrimmage against different teams that are going to be there. And originally, one of the things that was discussed was you would scrimmage against teams that are staying in your same hotel. Well, looking at this scrimmage schedule, that they've not held true to that. What they did say is, look, they're going to try to set it up so you can scrimmage against somebody from the other conference or somebody that you're not likely to play in the first round. So the Jazz have a scrimmage on July 23rd against Phoenix. They're the last game to be played on that date. They play the July 25th against Miami, and then they play July 27th against Brooklyn. So, I mean, they also, I guess, are okay tune-ups. I'd probably rather see the Jazz go up against maybe some tougher competition, but I think it also helps them. Miami's a tough team. Jazz have struggled against Miami. Those have been good battles. But Phoenix and Brooklyn, I guess those are opportunities to fine-tune some things, and it's not going to be as intense, perhaps. But Brooklyn, there's still uncertainty about who's going to be on that team.
You know, I'm kind of actually okay with playing Brooklyn based on where our team's chemistry and situation is at. Let's just get a little bit of confidence in us, because right now I just don't know where mentally and emotionally this team is at with each other, with themselves being gone away from their wives and their kids. Like, let's just play Brooklyn without Kyrie, without Kevin Durant, let them have it, run some things, and see if we can get kind of the feel of having basketball back in our lives and being on a court together.
For the Brooklyn Nets, DeAndre Jordan will not be there. Wilson Chandler will not be there.
Geez.
We know that Kyrie Irving will not be there. Kevin Durant will not be participating. Spencer Dinwiddie, didn't he test positive? So he may be delayed when he gets there.
He's delayed. But even if he's delayed, when he gets there, he still has to quarantine, I think, still.
Well, he has to quarantine before going, and then once he gets there, he'll have to quarantine again. The list of NBA players not participating has gotten longer, and probably the biggest name that is part of this list is Victor Oladipo. Now, I'm a little surprised at this. He had a bad injury, had come back from injury, was participating with the Pacers near the end before this whole thing collapsed, and now he's like, you know what? I just want to take time to make sure I'm rehabbed and ready for the following year.
Yeah, and I don't blame him on that.
Bradley Beal is a potential free agent. A lot of people wondering what he's going to do.
Time out. Did you not agree with Oladipo?
And, well, I was just surprised with Oladipo.
Okay.
I thought he would participate. I mean, he was playing with his team before the shutdown.
I'll tell you this.
So I'm a little surprised that he's not.
It kills Indiana.
That really hurts Indiana.
It really hurts Indiana. And who'd you say Bradley Beal's not
Bradley
sure?
Beal has not made a decision yet. He's still going to travel with the team, but he hasn't decided if he will play or not. There's wide speculation that if he did go, then he would be there just to see where he could go up potentially as a free agent.
Wait, if you go, you have to play, though. You can't go and sit.
Yeah, well, you'd go, you'd play with your team, but your real reason for being there is to play the field, and I'm not talking about playing actual basketball games.
All right, good night, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a Tuesday.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Baseball seasons normally have a very predictable rhythm. Right now, they'd be reaching the informal halfway point. We'd be approaching the dog days of summer. Teams would be getting ready for next week's All-Star break. A lot of clubs would already be out of it and shopping their best players on the open market. Maybe MVP and Cy Young debates would start rounding into shape. Right now, we have no storylines other than the fact that they're trying to get the season started later this month. It's going to be surreal. Usually, we don't take baseball that seriously in April and May, even June. Teams are just finding their sea legs. They're figuring out their rotation, seeing if there are young players that are good enough to help for the stretch run. No one has that luxury now. We're either about to hit the ground running or not have a season at all. There's no all-star break, no dog days of summer. The slow, calming pace of baseball isn't happening. Hopefully, we'll at least get this fast and furious version later this summer. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.